Phone on the counter has a voicemail accusing me of stealing my sitter's lunch in front of my child. I pick up the phone. My thumb is cold on the glass. The message blinks. A soft buzz comes from the speaker. I hold it close and listen again. List on the table shows one item circled: milk. My son sits at the table. Bills lie under the list. He taps the edge of a bill with a small finger. The paper rustles. He hums a note. I watch the circled word. Backpack on the porch is wet from last night's rain. The sitter pulls her jacket tight and points at it. She says, "I can't bring my food here anymore." She breathes out hard. The wet strap leaves a dark mark on the step. I step closer and smell the rain. I say, "Can we talk?" She turns her face away. Neighbor leans from her window and watches. I ask, "What are you talking about?" She says, "You took my lunch." The sitter quits and walks to her car. The neighbor's voice is thin. A car door thunks. My son watches from the kitchen island, his feet swinging. He asks, "Is she gone?" I nod and try to smile. Door swings closed in the rain. My son presses his small hand over his ear. I see a wet mark on his sleeve. The sitter drives away and says, "I wish we could trade lives." Car lights move down the street. The air smells like wet pavement. The rain taps the window in a slow beat. I stand still until the car disappears. My heart thumps in my throat. Voicemail on my phone shows a timestamp. I play it and freeze at the word burden. I record a voice note in the dark kitchen. I send it to my sister. She replies, "I heard yelling. I thought she packed it wrong." I write the time on a sticky note. I fold it and press it into the folder. The kitchen clock ticks loud in the quiet. My son plays with a crayon on the floor. Laptop on the kitchen table opens employer email with subject: attendance concern. Payroll shows 3 missed shifts and 1 deduction. I call the sitter. She does not pick up and texts, "Not coming back. Don't bring your kid to my home." I export the thread and save it as a PDF. I click export. A progress bar crawls across the screen. I watch the file save. The mouse makes a soft click when it finishes. Receipt in the drawer lists milk and orange juice. I take a photo of the crumpled grocery list. Sister texts, "I honked. She heard you." I screenshot the receipt and email it to myself. My fingers are sticky from the receipt. The paper creaks as I flatten it. I read the total aloud. The numbers feel heavy. I tap the photo. The screen blinks. A soft click sounds when I save it. The kitchen light hums low. I fold the paper list. The edges are damp where I touched it. I place the photo in a folder named Records. I label it with the date. I breathe and rub my palms together. Fridge light hums as I stare at an empty shelf. Son asks for a sandwich and watches my hands. I make a peanut butter sandwich with one hand shaking. I pack his lunchbox and tape a note inside. I write, "I will bring more tomorrow." The bread crunches faintly under the knife. The tape sticks and peels with a small sound. He nods and helps push the lid shut. Mailbox holds a formal letter from my job asking for a meeting about reliability. I call HR and explain the situation. They say they will note it. Neighbor says she saw the argument. I record her on my phone. She coughs into her hand. The recording catches the creak of her window. I say, "Can you say what you heard?" She repeats it slow and steady. Folder on the chair holds the printed export of the sitter's texts. I put the folder in my bag and drive to my sister's house. She opens the door and avoids my eyes. She says, "I didn't want to start trouble." I say, "You honked. You heard the words." She nods and goes quiet. We sit at her kitchen table. She pours coffee and it steams in the dim light. My son colors while we talk. I hand her the phone. "Play it," I say. She presses a finger and the message plays. Form sits in my hand in the municipal office. The clerk stamps a CPS referral as received and hands me a copy. The caseworker looks at me and taps a pen. She says, "You have multiple absences and a household complaint." I hand over the receipt and the recorded neighbor statement. The stamp leaves a red circle. Paper rustles as she flips pages. Her pen scratches while she writes my notes into the file. Chair in the waiting room creaks when a social worker calls my name. She asks about supervision, food, and my husband's death. I hand over the school's absence log and the doctor's note for medication. She types slowly and says, "This will be investigated." The school nurse confirms the pattern of missed days. My son squeezes my hand under the table. The waiting room radio murmurs. I breathe in and out, slow. Bank app on my phone shows a drop in deposits. Unpaid bills pile on the counter beside the crumpled list. I call the bank about overdraft fees. They ask for documents before waiving them. I breathe and email my employer the receipt and voice notes. I attach files. I compress them into a zip file. I type a short note and press send. Recorder on a table holds a forwarded voicemail from the sitter's friend. She says the sitter told her the lunch went missing. I save the message, write down times, and make a paper timeline. I find the school nurse log and the doctor's note about routine medications. I draw lines on the paper. I pencil in each event. I place dots at the times. The paper feels thin under my pen. I label the recording with the date. I tap export. The file slides into a folder on the desktop. The mouse pad feels cool under my wrist. I breathe out and cross a line on the timeline. Each cross line makes the sequence clearer. I step back and look at the spread. The pile of documents seems smaller than before. PDF sits on the lawyer's desk when I meet my attorney. He listens to the voicemail and reads the exported thread. He says, "These timestamps matter. This looks like retaliation." I slide the payroll notice and the school's absent log across the desk. He points at the photo of the crumpled grocery list. "This shows access," he says. He taps the photo. The tap sounds sharp in the quiet office. He leans back and steeples his fingers. Recorder sits between us on the low table as we call my sister into the conference room. She clears her throat and speaks slowly. "I heard the yelling from the car," she says. Attorney presses record again. He asks, "Can you say you heard her say trade lives?" She says, "Yes, I heard trade lives." She signs a short statement. I watch her sign. The pen scratches. She hands the paper to the attorney and her hand trembles a little. Envelope sits in the mailbox a week later with an HR update. Employer offers a settlement for lost shifts and reinstatement. They include a non-retaliation clause and a short apology. I sign and return the form. I save the signed copy to my folder. I seal the envelope with a small flap. I walk it to the mailbox and push it in. The lid snaps closed with a hollow sound. Binder on the shelf holds the timeline we made together. It lists calls, voicemails, employer notices, and the CPS referral. It shows the lawyer consult and the exported texts. We print 3 copies and file one with HR and one with the municipal office. I run my finger down the list in the binder. The pages rustle as I flip them. I clip each copy with a plastic clip. I date each copy in the corner. I make sure the margins show the timestamps. I hole punch the pages. The binder snaps closed with a small click. I pull a chair closer and rest my elbow on the table. The chair is cool under my palm. I breathe and feel my chest loosen a bit. The light over the table is a little too bright. I squint and keep going. Camera on my phone holds a short video the neighbor recorded from her window. The clip shows the sitter in the car. The sitter says, "I wish we could trade lives." The clip is clear and time-stamped. Attorney sends it with the complaint. The video plays with a faint hiss. Car tires sound in the background. The sitter's voice is distant, but distinct. Stamp sits on the courthouse envelope the week later. No trial happens. The case closes with a record of the complaint and our agreement. The municipal file updates to resolved. No further action. The school nurse sets future medication times. The stamp is black and small. The envelope slips into a bin. A clerk nods and the folder moves on a cart down a hallway. Receipt sits in my wallet for a new pair of shoes. My schedule stabilizes and payroll returns. My sister drops by more often. She brings laundry and coffee. She watches my son draw and leaves folded drawings on the fridge. The shoes feel solid when I try them on. The bank alert pings and the deposit shows. My throat unclenches. Lunchbox sits on the counter the next morning. Son reaches for his sandwich and reads the taped note. He says, "We have a plan. You are safe." He smiles and closes the lid. He taps the note and grins. I tuck a napkin inside. He lifts the lunchbox and the metal clasps click. Folder sits closed on my shelf with the printed PDF and the recorded neighbor clip. I keep copies in 3 places and back them up to an external drive. I sleep better and wake to make his lunch with steady hands. I press the drive into a drawer and lock it. The click of the lock is small but final. I breathe and feel calmer. Lunchbox on the porch the last week is half packed. A new sitter arrives and brings her own lunch. She says, "I can bring extra if you like." I say, "Thank you." The door closes and the day feels normal. Her voice is soft. The new sitter wipes her hands on a towel. She offers a small smile to my son. He waves and she waves back. Keep records. Protect your child. My babysitter quits and leaves my son alone with his toast at 9:12 a.m. I stand in the kitchen. I set a timer on my phone. I mark the minute down. The clock face seems to move slower. Kitchen table. I work at the counter with my laptop open. Bills sit under a grocery list. My sister waits in the car across the street. I text the sitter, asking why she left. She reads it and walks away. The text shows read. Her footsteps fade. My son shifts in his chair and watches me type phone. I hear the door slam. I say, "Stay 1 more hour, please." She says, "I wish we could trade lives." She turns and leaves. My sister honks once and drives off. I press my palm to the door and feel the cold metal knob. The splash of rain hits my ankle porch. Her shoes sit by the door. Her backpack rests on the step. Rain dots the strap. A neighbor watches from a window. A drip falls from the strap and lands with a small plop. The neighbor leans and lifts a hand to her mouth. Voicemail. I press play on the sitter's message. At 5 seconds, she says, "You should handle your life." I rewind to the word burden and pause. My hand shakes. I whisper the time to myself. I save the file in a folder labeled voicemail. The tiny speaker hums as it plays. Bank notice, my employer pings a missed shift, notice the same afternoon. Too many absences might affect pay, it reads. I print the payroll email and lay it by the groceries. A utility notice is red stamped with a due date. The paper is warm from the printer. The red stamp seems loud on the white page. I write a note to call the utility company school log. The nurse calls and leaves a message about missed pickups. We marked him absent 3 times, she says. I write that down. I save the voicemail as a dated file. I tuck the log into the folder. The nurse's voice sounds calm and kind. I breathe easier hearing her receipt. I find the sitter's contract with dates and cancellation terms. I compare it to the calendar and find missing shifts. My sister texts, I saw her storm off, she sounded done. I note the contract clauses. I highlight the cancel terms with a yellow pen. The ink smells faint and sharp. I trace the dates with my finger. I mark the gaps on the calendar with a red pen. The ink smells faintly of metal. I stack the papers and press them flat. The stack makes the table heavier. I press a hand to my chest and count to 10. Form 2 weeks later, the municipal office calls about home stability. A caseworker reads from a checklist and rustles papers. I hand the phone to my sister. She says, I honked. I heard her leave. The caseworker types a CPS referral form arrives stamped received. The fax machine beeps. A new page slides out and lands with a soft thud. I sign my name at the bottom. File. I take the referral to HR with a printed copy. The HR rep slides a folder across the counter. These absences show a pattern, she says. We need proof you can keep shifts. My son tugs my sleeve at my knee. I show the email printouts and the voicemail file. The HR rep makes a copy and files it. Office. I meet a lawyer in a cramped office. He says, we can export the thread and the voice note. He asks to record our meeting. I say, record it. We export the sitter's texts and transcribe the voicemail into a PDF. He points to a small recorder and hits a red button. The light comes on and pulses slow. Paper the thread timestamps match the day she left. The voicemail aligns with missed shifts and a late paycheck. The lawyer taps the table and writes notes. My sister records a brief witness statement. He says, this link can show motive. He sends an email to HR with the files attached. The send sound is a simple pop. I watch him type the email. He drags files into the message. A small progress bar fills. The sound of keys clicks steady. I feel my shoulders loosen a fraction. We print 2 extra copies and bind them with a clip. I fold one into my bag meeting room. We file a complaint with HR that frames the sitter's quitting as retaliation. The lawyer mails a short letter with the PDF attached. I wait by the phone and check email every 30 seconds. The phone vibrates and my hand jumps. I answer and then hang up with no news. I tell my son a quiet story to fill the time. Hearing room. The employer schedules a meeting in late October. I enter a conference room with 2 managers and my lawyer. The HR rep slides the referral form to my lawyer. The manager says, we can place you on probation. My lawyer replies, you have no grounds for termination. The chair squeaks as someone shifts. The manager taps a pen against the table and frowns. Witness. The municipal caseworker brings a printed log and places it on the table. She taps the referral stamp. The manager reads the timestamps on my exported messages. He frowns and looks up. My lawyer points to matching times. The manager flips through pages and nods. Call. My lawyer asks for a short recess and dials the sitter's listed number. He records the call, the sitter answers and then hangs up. The lawyer says, she won't talk now. The line goes silent. A faint beep shows the call dropped. The lawyer rubs his temple and breathes out. Claim. We file a retaliation claim with the labor board the next day. They email a receipt and a case number. I upload the PDF, the voice note, and my sister's recorded admission. I attach the payroll notice and the school's absent log. The upload's timestamp. I watch the progress bars rise. Each ding is small and bright. I close my eyes and let the sound steady my breath. I click upload and watch the bars climb. The Wi-Fi light blinks. A small ding sounds when each file lands. I breathe and unzip the folder to check the files are intact. The files open. The timestamps match. I save a backup to the external drive and label it with the case number, mediation room. The labor board schedules mediation. I sit across from the sitter and a mediator. The mediator reads lines from the messages. He plays my voice note. He asks, did you intend to cause hardship? The sitter stays silent. Her representative offers a settlement. The mediator's pen moves as he writes. I fold and unfold my hands in my lap. The sitter's face is still, counteroffer. The settlement asks me to waive claims and sign a non-disclosure. My lawyer whispers, we can push for accountability instead. I refuse, I want the record to stand. My palms sweat a little. I hand the paper back. The mediator clears his throat. Panel. The case moves to an administrative hearing. I bring the stack of documents to a panel of 3. The sitter sits with her representative. My sister sits behind and taps her knee. The panel calls our names and reads the complaint. The room is colder than the mediation room. A microphone sits on the table and hums softly. Evidence. I hand the panel the exported PDF and offer the voice note. The panel listens to the audio. The timestamps match. The sitter's words play back. I wish we could trade lives. The panel takes notes. A clerk stamps a copy and slides it back. One panelist leans forward and narrows their eyes. Ruling. The panel rules the quitting is retaliation tied to pay disputes. They order the sitter to reimburse lost pay. They bar her from agency referrals for 6 months. The employer must reinstate my shifts and correct payroll. I exhale hard and let my shoulders drop. My son squeezes my hand from beside me and smiles a small smile. Car. I step out and see my son waiting by the car. He waves a small hand and holds his backpack tight. He asks, Mom, you won. I say, sort of. He grins and runs to the curb. He jumps into my arms and the backpack bumps against my shin. The air smells like warm asphalt. Lunchbox. That evening, I pack his lunch on the back porch. I put a sandwich and an apple inside. I tape a note to the top that says, Plan set. School safe. I zip the lunchbox shut. I tuck an extra granola bar in the side pocket. The zipper catches slightly and then moves smooth. Records. The school logs show steady attendance. The payroll reflects corrected hours. The utility notice gains a new due date. The bank alert clears. The caseworker emails, concern resolved per documentation. My sister sends a thumbs up. I print the email and add it to the binder. The paper adds weight to the folder. Drawer. I put the exported PDF into a drawer labeled records. I save the voice note on the home computer. I close my laptop. My son chews his sandwich and counts his fingers. I listen to his breathing and count mine. I slide the drawer shut and the latch clicks. The room is quiet in the clean way that follows action. Door. I tie his shoelaces before school. He looks up and says, Love you, Mom. I say, Love you too. He leaves with the lunch and the note tucked inside. The shoelace pulls tight and the knot holds. He runs down the walk and I watch until he turns the corner. Small records win. My babysitter accuses me of stealing food from her child while I watch my son at home. Lunchbox on the counter. The sitter points at it and shouts, You take things from my kid. My son sits at the island and watches. He chews his toast and stares at the sitter. I keep my voice low. No, I say. I did not. Table under the lamp holds bills and a grocery list. One item is circled, milk. I give my name and my job. I say rent is due tomorrow. My husband died 2 months ago. The lamp casts a warm circle. The shadow of the list moves when I shift my hand. I close my eyes for one breath. Car in the driveway has my sister honking once. She waits in the car and does not come in. She waves and points to the clock. I sigh and gather my papers. Phone on the table lights up. The sitter texts, I wish we could trade lives. The timestamp shows. I ask, please, tell me what happened. She texts back, I can't do this, and then leaves. Her wet footprint marks my welcome mat. I step near it and press a finger to the wet spot. The mat smells like dirt and rain. Voicemail on my phone plays a shaky clip of the argument. On the recording, she says, You expect me to bring my own food. I say, We split what we can, she says. I won't feed your child for free. The recording catches the word burden at 10 seconds. I write it down. I circle the time on my paper and put a star next to it. The scribble looks urgent. Laptop on the kitchen counter opens to my payroll email. The schedule shows shifts I missed last week. The employer sends a warning about excessive absences and possible termination. I photocopy the payroll email. The copier hums and spits out the pages. They land in a neat stack that I clip together. Bank mail on the table shows an overdraft fee dated this month. I copy that notice into the folder with the payroll email. I highlight the fee amount and add a note to dispute it if needed. The pen line is bold and dark. Phone between the couch cushions keeps the voicemail playing. I call my sister. She says she hears the yelling from her car. She records herself saying, She screamed you take from her kid. Her voice trembles. I save the file. The file name is short and clear. I label it Sister Witness and add the date. School bag by the door contains the nurse's absent day log. It lists dates, a sensory day, and medication notes. I photograph the log to send to my lawyer. The flash of the camera makes the paper look brighter. I crop the picture and send it. Jacket pocket holds the grocery receipt. I count each item and match it to my grocery list. Milk appears once. Bread appears once. The receipt matches the lunchbox contents. I tuck it into the folder. The corner of the receipt is soft where I fold it. I press it under a paperweight to keep it from shifting. Phone screen flashes the sitter's name again. She texts, I never said steal. I ask, then why quit? Why accuse me? She replies. This place is unstable. The texts stop. The last message is an emoji. I stare at the emoji and wonder what it hides. I put the phone face down to stop checking. Folder on the table fills with papers. I schedule a meeting with my manager. He says, "We can't have no shows." He slides a warning across his desk. I sign it. My hand feels heavy. I ask for time to gather proof. He nods and sets a date. Envelope in the mail holds a form from the community hotline. The form says someone reports instability and yelling at my address. I call the hotline. A woman says, "We logged a referral to Child Protective Services." The form arrives stamped received. The stamp is thick and red. I hold the form like a fragile thing. I make a note to call the caseworker. Office at the municipal building smells like bleach and coffee. A caseworker reads the referral and says, "We need to ask questions." My son sits beside me and plays with his fingers. The caseworker says the referral raises concerns about caregiving and supervision. She asks calm questions. I answer them one at a time. I hand over the folder of documents. Notebook on the table holds the caseworker's notes. She asks when the sitter left. I give the timestamp from the texts. She asks about finances. I show the bank notice and the payroll email. She says, "We will make a home visit." She closes the notebook and sets a date. I mark it on the calendar in red. Recorder on my lawyer's desk clicks on. He says, "We can file retaliation and defamation claims." He asks for evidence, texts, voicemails, receipts, witness statements. I hand him the folder and my sister's recorded statement. He nods and lists a few more steps. I write each step down and check them off as we go. PDF on the laptop shows the exported text thread with timestamps. We attach the voicemail transcript, the payroll email, and the grocery receipt. We export my sister's voice note and add it to the file. We email the PDF to HR and the municipal caseworker. I send a copy to myself and to my sister. I print one for the binder and slide it into the folder. Door in the kitchen opens. My sister folds her wet jacket and hands me her phone. She says, "I recorded her yelling." I press play. Her recorded voice repeats the exact line she heard. The caseworker later listens to that recording during the home visit and takes notes. The caseworker's notes match the recording. She nods and says, "This helps." Envelope on my desk at work contains the exported PDF. HR reads it and starts an investigation. They pull the sitter's file and email her for a statement. The sitter replies, "I quit." She does not repeat the stealing claim. HR pauses the warning and puts my file on hold. The email header says, "Investigation." I save it to a folder and print a copy. Mailbox on the porch holds a notice from the hotline. It says the referral will be reviewed and schedules a home visit for Tuesday. I prepare the folder and add the nurse log, the grocery receipt, and the PDF. I check the front door latch. I wipe the porch clean and set a chair outside. I place the folder on the kitchen table and check the papers once more. Porch step at dusk holds a half sandwich in the lunchbox. My son reaches for it and says, "Can you open it?" I say, "Of course." He bites and hums a tune. I fold the grocery list and tuck the receipt inside the folded paper. He leans against my knee and chews slowly. The sun slips behind the houses and the porch light clicks on. Note inside the lunchbox reads, "You are cared for." My sister comes the next morning and packs a thermos. She says, "I'll cover Tuesday." I say, "Thank you." She says, "Bring receipts next time." She laughs and falls quiet. We drink coffee and plan the week. The thermos is warm in my hand. Envelope from the labor board arrives this week. It says they accept the retaliation claim for review. The investigator requests the exported PDF and the voicemail transcript. I send them again with a cover letter. The sitter does not file a counterclaim. HR closes its internal note with a recommendation to monitor attendance. The municipal office closes the referral with a note. "No immediate danger found. Provide support resources." I breathe deep and let the tension leave my shoulders in a slow exhale. The investigator's receipt number is saved in my files. I print a clean copy for the investigator. I staple the cover letter to the PDF. I sign and date the bottom line. The printer hums and spits out pages. I walk them to the post office and feel a small lightness. The mail slot clunks as I feed the envelope through. The postal worker stamps the receipt. I tuck the slip into my wallet. Lunchbox in my son's backpack has a new sticker that reads, "Do not remove." I file the folder with a single paper clip and slide it into a cabinet drawer. I email a copy of the PDF to my sister and ask her to hold it. She says, "Okay." The paper clip slides over the edge and leaves a faint groove. I lock the cabinet and the click sounds like a small promise. Note on the counter has 3 words taped to it. I read it aloud. My son chews and laughs. He says, "More sandwich." I smile and fold the note into my pocket. "Keep receipts. Keep proof."